This video is brought to you by Captivating History. The early medieval history of Europe was marked by many unexpected and turbulent events. At a time when Christianity took a firm hold on the many kingdoms and empires of the continent, fierce warriors from the north broke through and took them all unawares. Those warriors were the Vikings. These fierce Norsemen ushered the world into the Viking Age, a tumultuous era that radically changed the socio-political picture of Europe, setting it on a course that none could hope to change. Over the centuries, the Vikings settled into many corners of Europe, determined to stay. From Ireland, England, and the Kievan Rus, all the way to medieval France, they spread and took hold. Once settled in these nations, the Norsemen were slowly assimilated. By integrating into the societies they invaded, the Vikings adopted their hosts' customs, traditions, and languages at a rapid pace. But their warlike nature and prowess in conquests could not be rooted out. Even generations after their Norse roots were forgotten. The need to conquer, to sail and fight, was always present in their blood. The Vikings were especially active during the 10th century AD. Amassing large expeditions, they sailed in great numbers across the open waters and the riverways of Central Europe, always in search of new plunder. Destructive at first, these raids and expeditions soon gained a character of settlement. The Kingdom of West Francia, the predecessor of modern France, was especially vulnerable to these raids. It could not effectively deal with the Viking threat. Its rulers feared for their capital city of Paris and the vast riches it was holding. Seeking a favorable solution, the Franks were aiming to strike a deal with the Norse. By the early 900s AD, the Vikings were already settling in small encampments in the north of France, presenting a looming threat. With some shrewd thinking, the ruler of West Francia, Charles III the Simple, came to an agreement with the Vikings in 911 AD. He created a new dukedom, especially for this occasion. He named it the Duchy of Normandy, giving its rule to a prominent leader amongst the Vikings known as Gong Rolf, later known as Rollo. Normandy was named after the Frankish word for the Norsemen, Normand, and those who inhabited it would emerge as the distinct Normans. The Duchy of Normandy was established in the Treaty of Saint-Clair-sur-Epte. It consisted of territories along the northern French coastline and the English Channel. These regions were more densely populated by the Viking settlers. But the Viking leader Rollo did not gain this territory for nothing. He was tasked with protecting the realm of West Francia against his kinsmen and further Viking incursions. He also became a Christian and a sworn vassal of Charles III. In this way, the Normans began developing as a unique and distinct Franco-Norse ethnicity. The Norman identity emerged in just a few generations and was reflected in distinct architecture, language, politics, and most importantly, warfare and military innovations. After becoming the powerful Duke of Normandy, Rollo established himself as a prominent noble in Francia. In time, he fathered an heir, William Longsword, and established a powerful Norman dynasty that would herald a new era in Europe, thrusting it into a turbulent and exciting period. Initially, the Vikings of Normandy were restless and once more raised their sails in search of new loot and riches. They journeyed south through the Iberian Peninsula and into Italy, known to them as Langborland, or the land of the Lombards. They raided the coasts of Tuscany and Liguria, sacked the city of Pisa, and made incursions into North Africa and Sicily. Afterward, the Norman presence in the Mediterranean was fully established. Just a few hundred years after Rollo and his Vikings settled in Normandy, the Normans became some of the most powerful and influential political players in Europe. Rollo's dynasty became prominent, and its lines of succession were clear and uncontested. However, a few generations down the line, things were about to change, and a powerful figure emerged, William the Bastard. William was the only son and heir of Duke Robert I the Magnificent, a descendant of Rollo. There was one issue at hand, though. William was a bastard, the illegitimate son of a common woman. When Robert died, young William was just 8 years old, and the ambitious Norman nobles stirred, quickly challenging the young boy's claim to the ducal title. William and his close advisors and supporters spent 25 years in a vicious struggle to claim his rightful place as the Duke of Normandy. He quelled rebellions, anarchy, and powerful lords such as Geoffrey Martel and Guy of Bouillon. In the end, and with the support of Henry I, King of France, William the Bastard became the rightful Duke of Normandy. His long ascent to that position gave him plenty of experience in warfare, leadership, and conquest. By 1060 AD, William's rule over Normandy was solidified and uncontested. This allowed him to shift his gaze to a new prize, ripe for conquest: England. In the years before 1066 AD, the people of England enjoyed a period of relative stability and peace. But at the English royal court, during the rule of King Edward the Confessor, things were far from ideal. The powerful earls of Northumbria, Mercia, and neighboring lands grew powerful due to his weak rule and began vying for power over England. This growing internal power struggle blossomed into a crisis, providing an ideal opportunity for the ambitious Norman leader, William, to extend his power across the English Channel. The situation escalated in 1066 AD when King Edward the Confessor died on January 5th, without offspring. Since there was no heir to the throne, the many powerful earls of England quickly descended into a bitter power struggle, each one desiring to rule. However, they were not the only ones with such intentions. From Normandy, William the Conqueror claimed to be the rightful heir to the vacant throne. This claim was as legitimate as the others. The mother of Edward the Confessor, the late king, happened to be a Norman princess and a relative of William's. From the start, William was adamant about claiming that seat for himself. By aiming to act fast and seize the chance, William intended to increase his power immensely. To that end, he quickly established a powerful and sizable army of roughly 12,000 men. He further gathered additional troops in Britannia and Flanders and began amassing a powerful fleet of ships to sail that army across the Channel. William was confident in his mission, and rightly so. He was at the head of one of the finest armies in Europe. The Norman knights became synonymous with military prowess and innovations in warfare, no doubt due to their fierce Viking heritage. Dark clouds gathered over England. Harold Godwinson, the Earl of Wessex and the wealthiest of all the English nobles, managed to win in the struggle for the throne. However, even though he became a king, he was facing troubles from all sides. He was well aware that Duke William of Normandy was amassing troops across the Channel, but he had another threat to face, this time to the north. The Norwegian king, Harald Hardrada, had descended with a vast army, landing in England's northern region. Before his enemy had a chance to react, Godwinson makes a dazzling fast march from the south, taking Hardrada by surprise and defeating his army on September 25, 1066 AD, at the Battle of Stamford Bridge. And just as the Norwegians were defeated, William the Bastard sailed across the English Channel. Harold Godwinson gathered the bruised and battered men at his command and once more made a grueling march, returning south to face the Normans. The two armies met on October 16, 1066 AD at the Battle of Hastings, where the fate of England was to be decided. From dawn to dusk, the men clashed, even though Harold Godwinson had a strategic advantage. Being positioned on the top of a hill, he could not stop the advance of the superior Norman warriors and cavalry. In the end, he lost his life, as did most of his men. William the Bastard, now known as William the Conqueror, won a decisive victory at Hastings, securing England in its entirety. He established himself as its sole ruler in the following years, ushering Europe into a brand new era. The Normans' arrival in England changed their socio-political identity. These newcomers from across the Channel introduced a new set of laws, establishing their manorial feudal system and a policy of castle building. In a matter of decades, England was completely transformed into a powerful monarchy, with a Francophone Norman ruling class. Emerging as a new and powerful force in early medieval Europe, the Normans carved their place in history with the sharp end of the sword. Introducing new and revolutionary methods of warfare and establishing new laws and policies, these hardened warriors profoundly influenced many nations around the world. To learn more about the Normans, check out our book, The Normans, a captivating guide to the Norman conquest and William the Conqueror. It's available as an ebook, paperback, and audiobook. Also, grab your free mythology bundle ebook while it's still available. All links are in the description. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button and subscribe for more videos like this.